Well, hello, everybody. This is another version and recording of the Unity thread. And today I'm featuring Mark Brozovich with First Payment Solutions. He's a payment processing organization. And so I want to take some time because, everybody most people, I should say, have a credit card in their pocket. And so businesses today are kind of leashed, if we want to call it that, to utilizing payment processing companies. And this can be a big expense for some companies if they don't have a provider that really is giving them education and insight into how the payment processing arena works. And so that's why I wanted to have Mark on today, is to provide people out there that watch our videos on the Unity thread to give them some insight into how this whole process works and questions to ask, whether it's their current provider or even if Mark were to happen to walk into your door, things you might want to ask him about payment processing solutions. So, hey, Mark, give us a little introduction. Tell us how long you've been in the payment processing arena, and we'll kick it off from there. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Appreciate it. Payment processing. Well, first of all, my background is in technology. It's been in technology my whole career. I've been in payment processing now for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really good fit for me as I coupled the technology background with the payment processing background. It just made sense. And I also had a sales background, sales and marketing. So it all just kind of came together. So that's how we got started.
Okay. And so from that perspective, give us a little insight. When I, as the customer, I stick my card into whether it's the handheld machine or the one at the counter or whatever, what happens after, that transaction occurs? What's going on behind the scenes through the payment processing activity? What happens? I mean, all I see is, money's taken out of my account, but I know for the business owner, there's a lot more stuff that's going on.
Well, that's a pretty big question. I mean, a lot takes place behind the scenes, but a lot takes place up front before we ever even get there, right? But to touch on what takes place behind the scenes, a customer comes in, throws out their credit card, and that credit card is taken on a standalone machine, maybe a point of sale system, on a machine that allows what we call NFC payments or tapped payments through Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, or NFC credit cards that you can just tap your credit card. Not very much anymore do you see swiped payments. I mean, they've kind of gone by the wayside with chip and tap. But those transactions are then authorized from the issuing bank, and an authorization comes back to the merchant or that business that just took that card and says, hey, yeah, I can take this money. All right. Part of that, though, is there's kind of a misconception from a business owner's perspective that they have the money right now. They really don't have the money until they settle those transactions in what we call a settlement or a batch at night or the following morning. And then that's when the money actually gets settled with the banks and then eventually is transmitted into the business owner merchant's bank account. Okay. So that's kind of a simplified version. I mean, there's a whole bunch of complex things that go on behind the scenes from a computer processing perspective, organizations between the issuers, the banks, all of that. There's basically a large clearinghouse out there that handles all this. So
you mentioned this batch submission. Is that something the business owner has to do every night, or does that happen automatically?
Well, there's a number of ways to set that up. Most business owners prefer to have what they call an auto close, an auto batch. They select a time in the evening that's conducive to their business, after they close the doors, and it automatically submits that batch. A lot of times we turn it on and the business owner likes to close it out manually, but they keep auto batch on in case they forget. But you don't want to leave those batches hanging out there. We've had some people that have forgotten to batch, and then we get a phone call about 3 days later, and we're told to get out and reach out to them and tell them to batch because those transactions could expire. While I'm thinking of that, though, it brings up another point. We get phone calls from business owners, and they're concerned that they may have lost money. They may have lost that transaction. The machine hiccups, it goes dark, it goes dead, something's gone wrong. Well, rest assured, those transactions are authorized on the server. You're not going to lose those transactions. However, it's up to the agent and the customer service department of the processor to follow up and manually close those batches on the server. So you really have to be communicating with that business owner if things don't work as normal, as planned, say when they go to close in the evening, right? So very, very important.
Hey, that brings up a great point. When it comes to, there's this impression that, and I'm kind of making some assumptions here. There's an impression that once a system is set up in a merchant's place of business, that there's no longer a need for somebody with your background and your customer service arena. But I know you and I have talked about this. It's like inevitably something does happen. There's a system that occurs here, and things can break. To your point, you have the machines in the merchant's business. What does that look like? I mean, the customer service side for you. I mean, how important is that to the merchants use service once you walk in the door when they have a problem?
In my mind, it's the most important thing in any business relationship. Doing business with people that you know, like, and trust, right? It all starts from the beginning. You may or may not know as an agent, you may not know that person ahead of time. It could be a cold call, cold walk-in. You might just introduce yourself, and then before you know it, you're up and running, right? So you have to handhold all the way through that initial process. And the most important thing up front is really determining a need, finding out what's missing. A lot of people in this business think it's all about rates. It's not all about rates. What it's about is meeting the needs of the business and helping the business owner transition those payment processing solutions into something that works for them. It has to meet their business processes, okay? So the first thing that I do is I determine what's going on. Are they using a standalone machine? Are they using a point of sale system? Are they using a mobile device? Are they using a mobile device with a swiper, a chipper, a tapper? Are they integrating this with their website? What does the big picture look like for this business owner? And so what we do is we put together a plan. Now, some plans are very simple. Some can get very complex. But at the end of the day, it's up to the agent to begin that customer service right there. And so when we get people installed, we do everything for them. We take their applications, we build their files, we configure their machines, we install the machines, we teach them, we train them, we educate them how the process works. And then we constantly follow up initially, a couple times in the next 3 weeks as an example, and then ongoing to make sure that things are working properly. And they're always going to have questions, especially with a new system. They get a new dashboard, right? That dashboard has all their information. They're responsible for PCI compliance, which is security piece. We help them get PCI compliance started and answer those questionnaires, which is just a necessary evil in our business, I guess, because security is so important. And then it's just following up and making sure that this business owner has customer engagement tools, making sure that they have tools to understand their statements, understand their rates, understand how that process is working. And then from then on, it's really a hi, how you doing all the time. making friends, just stopping in, popping in, saying hello. Is there anything else I can do for you? And keeping them up with current technology. In our business, it's planned obsolescence in my mind, but truly the machines are obsoleted for security reasons primarily, because they just won't handle security software updates anymore. So the machine has to be replaced. So we spend a lot of time redeploying machines. We spend a lot of time helping them with their point of sale vendors, integrators, different equipment, those point of sale organizations. And there's a lot that goes on. Sometimes they think that we set them up and we walk away. Well, I'll tell you, some agents do that. And that's where I make a difference. That's where our organization makes a difference. We care and we take care of these people. We just don't sign them up and leave them. So that was a little long-winded. I hope that answered your question.
No, it did. One of the couple things that you said in there, though, that I'd like to dig a little deeper on is where is the cost to the merchant in the in the payment processing world? I think that's somewhat nebulous for a lot of merchants. They see money going into their account, and they, as long as there's more going in than's coming out, some cases, they feel like, okay, I'm ahead of the game. But I know in talking with you in the past, there's costs associated with these solutions that a merchant should consider. And what do those look like?
Yeah, really good questions. I mean, when money's coming out of my bank account, I want to know why, and I want to know where it's going, right? So do you. In credit card processing, it's all over the board. And I can spend hours on it, actually. But there's different rate structures. There's different fixed fees. There's different variable fees. And the agent and the organization can charge the business owner, that merchant, whatever they want, whatever they're willing to pay. I mean, I could walk in and charge them a couple hundred basis points if they'll pay me. Now, would that be a good way to handle it? No, absolutely not. It's not a good way to do business. It's not ethical in my mind. So what you try to do is you look at these different industries, right? You look at, your mom and pops, maybe your hair salon, your automobile repair shop. You look at restaurants and bars and hotels and medical services. You look at all these. And what I try to do is I look at, say, an average rate that these people are paying. When I say an average rate, I'm talking about an effective rate. An effective rate is your overall rate. And those of you that don't understand how that works, you take the fees divided by the volume, and that'll give you your effective rate. So one of the first things I do is I try to find out what they're currently paying. Say if I'm prospecting a particular business owner and we're engaged, I try to find out what they're paying. And that's a whole interesting story because most of the time they don't know and they don't understand how these rates work, right? So the way to really begin that conversation is to look at their effective rate. And when I see that and I say, okay, well, this is a hair salon, and this is their effective rate, or this is an ice cream shop and this is their effective rate, I know from my experience what some of the industry averages are, where they ought to be and where they shouldn't be. Okay. So that's something that I know. But what is it that they're looking for, right? They're looking for a fair rate. They don't want to be nickeled and dimed. They don't want to be surprised, and they want to be educated. In our business, we have primarily 3 rate structures. We have a flat rate. I could come to you and, you know what, Phil, I'm going to charge you 2.75% flat rate for every transaction that you process. No other fees, no hidden costs, no nothing, right? The other thing I can do is I can come to you and say, I'm going to give you what we call cost plus or interchange plus. Interchange is a governing body that governs all the credit card rates based on SIC codes, based on all kinds of stuff. And that's a really complex system. And I can say, I'm going to go cost plus. The plus is what I'm going to tack on to that. Maybe it's 0.5%, 0.25%. We usually talk in terms of basis points. and we tack that on. That's our processor's profit. Okay. There's also authorization fees. So an authorization fee is when you swipe that card and it goes out and makes sure that they can actually authorize this transaction. So there's a fee behind that. There's monthly fees for statements, for PCI compliance, and there's also association fees. MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express, right? So all these fees come together and form what we call a true effective rate. And there are all other kinds of charges that any agent can implement, like a sign-up fee, a yearly fee, a per item fee, and then they can inflate those other costs that I talked about, right? Mm-hmm. So it's important for a business owner to understand what they're being charged. It's important for them to understand what are, say, hard costs that really need to be covered by the agent, by the processor, and if those costs are being upsold or inflated. And, for me, it's not complex, but I need to teach that business owner. And so I focus on education. When I get a hold of their current statement and they say, I love this, I'll introduce this right now in our topics. Well, my rate's 1.65. I'm like, really? Oh, that's nice. That's great. Well, immediately I know they're on another rate structure I didn't tell you about. And that's what we call a tiered rate structure. And there's 3 tiers to that. And if they're on 1.65, they've been given that 1.65 as a teaser, either to sign up, or they truly think in their head they're only paying 1.65, and they never look at their statements, and they just throw money out the door every single month.
Right.
Well, that 1.65 is what we call their base rate. Well, some cards come in at 165 or lower. But if they go to 166, they're going to go to the next tier, and that next tier may be 2.75, which is what we call a mid-qualified rate. And then there's a non-qualified rate that may go up to 3.75. So a tiered rate structure is very, very dangerous in my mind to the business owner. You have to be really careful if you see somebody on that. You need to get them off. I don't have anybody in my portfolio on a tiered rate structure. It's just, in my mind, it's unacceptable because it's written for the processor and the agent to really make a lot of money. And just not a fair way to handle it. So, I don't like to pick on or other organizations, and I'm not going to badger Costco at all. But Costco has a relationship with the processor, and Costco advertises, a really low rate, 1.45, 1.65. Come see us, sign up. That's really a misconception there. It's just not the truth. It's a base rate. And so people see that and they go, well, can you beat Costco? Yeah, I beat Costco all day long because what they're advertising is not what you're going to pay. So we have to be really careful. And it's all part of that education. So the whole rate thing is quite complex, but it can be very simplified with somebody that'll just come in and keep it simple like myself and educate somebody how it works. I have nothing to hide. They take a look at all these fees and they think, well, Mark, you're making a lot of money. No, the banks make money in this business. Yes, we make a little bit of money. I mean, that's our business. We wouldn't be in business if we didn't make money. But the banks make all the money in credit card processing. Mm-hmm. So I'd recommend you stay away from your banks for credit card processing because you'll pay some of the highest rates in the industry.
Yeah. So when what causes people to want to change from, say, their current processing company into a new organization, or maybe, you've alluded to, some of the things that you're providing from an educational standpoint, but is there anything that you've seen that would cause somebody to want to change? Because in a lot of cases, what I'm hearing you say is there's a lot of things to do if I'm going to change processors. I may have equipment changes. I may have a lot of things that could be somewhat disruptive to my business. And so how do you, I guess, lower that disruption level at the same time of, what generates that desire to make a switch?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. There's a lot of things that can generate that. I think the number one thing is rates. A business owner will start shopping just like you and I shop for insurance.
Mhm.
It's been 3 years, and I throw 3 years out there because most processors have a 3-year contractual agreement, which we do not. We don't put anybody under a contract. We offer, month to month, 30-day, no questions asked, whatever you want to do. And we know that we'll be successful because of our relationship building. So rates cause people to change. Technology. Oftentimes, a business owner would want to implement a new point of sale system or change an existing point of sale system. And so their current processor can't talk to those systems, they can't integrate. So that will cause a change. The other thing that will cause a change is lack of customer service.
Okay.
A lot of organizations, you get their 1-800 go nowhere number, and you don't have a local agent. It really, unfortunately, a lot of companies have signed up with the corporation, and they don't have a local agent. They get their equipment FedEx to them, and they never see anybody, and then they don't have any customer service.
Right.
So I highly recommend that whoever you go with is local in some respect. Okay, so you can get things taken care of. They change because they can't get anybody to help them. Machine goes down and they call customer service, and it's 48 hours. You can't not have a machine in a retail business for 48 hours. You got to have something immediately. You got to have somebody in town that's going to configure that and get it over within an hour or two and help you up and running.
Right.
Is going to implement a backup system. So I think that those are some of the primary reasons that people change. Another one is that there's just truly not the technology available, or the current agent or organization has not talked to them about current technology and integrating end-to-end solutions, the full payment processing suite. Um, and it may just be, could be a QuickBooks integration, could be a customer engagement system, it could be an appointment system, it could be anything. Today, software is more important than just credit card processing.
Yeah.
The tools have become so important to keep that customer coming back. It's a loyalty program, it's marketing, right? It's all of that stuff that we can tie directly to a credit card, and we can store that information, and we can trigger things in our systems to help the organization market themselves. So I think those are the primary things that people are looking for. They're leaving other processors for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you brought up, I think, a couple other great points there, which was, it sounds like the bulk of what you do is, the core payment processing solution. But what other stuff do you offer? I mean, it sounds like you have a kind of, you've mentioned this a couple times now, a suite of products that you're bringing to your merchants. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, good question. Marketing. So we have software integration that we can capture names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, right?
Mhm.
So it puts the business owner in a position where that information is captured, and now they can use it to market to those customers. So that's one piece. Say invoicing, for instance, invoicing, reoccurring payments. I love this option because I can create an invoice and I can send it to you, and you can click on a link to pay, and it puts that back in your lap, Phil. And so I don't have to handle your cards. A lot of consumers out there still don't like to make telephone payments. They want to control their cards. They want to know what they're doing. So invoicing is a great way to do that. You just send them an invoice with a link to pay. We configure websites with payment integration, payment buttons, all the way from just making a simple payment to full e-commerce integration for website payments. which reminds me to talk about gateways. Gateways are basically traffic cops that control the connection between websites and us, the back end. We provide that service at no extra cost. As a matter of fact, I do a lot of that configuration inside websites to connect all those pieces so that people can make payments on their websites. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
So in talking about gateways, there are a number of different gateways out there that can be used. And a gateway primarily is provided to tie in websites or other point of sale systems. It's a connection is what it is. And the gateway itself provides a lot of different services that you can customize, links and payment forms. And so we provide a lot of that. But what's happening is our company is providing to us a whole suite of tools. The processor that I use, which is Priority Payments, as my processor that I tie into. We have a whole suite of things that are delivered for free that you get. And some are paid, but it just keeps growing on and on and on and on. There's some things changing this year while I'm talking about it. Colorado has always been a non-surcharging state, and it's our understanding, unless this is changing, that come July 1st, Colorado can surcharge. And what that'll do is give the merchant, to the business owner, the ability to pass the credit card fees on to the consumer, which is huge. I mean, there's only like 5 states in the nation that don't allow it. Colorado was one of them. So we're kind of ramping up to roll out that service and the technology that supports it. There are other ways that the business can save money with other tools, like cash discounting is another one. So it kind of takes me back to, not only do we have the service offerings, but we educate people on how to use these service offerings. And one of the things we do, I mean, we conduct in-person training, we do Zoom meetings, we do a lot of different things. And we try to make sure as agents that we know a little bit about everything. Yeah. And that way we can teach our merchants what's going on. And then we have a great customer support staff behind us as well that can help when we're not available. So lots of things coming down, and lots of things available for a business owner. And part of just finding out, once again, what are the needs, right? Mm-hmm. Doing that evaluation, doing that site inspection, doing the things that we need to do as consultants. We're not out just selling credit card processing. We are a payment processing business consultant, and that allows us to really dig deep into the needs of the business owner. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I don't think I have any other questions. I think you've covered it really well. Any closing comments that you might have, pertaining to First Payment Solutions, or, anything around those lines that you'd like to offer up in closing?
Yeah, I think it's just really important for a business owner to have a relationship with an agent, with a processor. And if they're not getting their questions answered, and they're not getting the solutions that they need, whether that solution is simply good rates or something else, they need to find somebody. And they need to be asking a lot of questions. Everything in this business is pretty much negotiable, okay? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of agents out there selling the fact that nothing's negotiable and that they must pay these rates, they must get locked into contracts. And it's simply not true. If any business owner is being introduced to payment processing with a contract, they need to run, because there's no reason to have a contract. They ought to be able to freely choose who they're going to do business with. There's misconception out there and a few things that are taking place in the business that I really don't like. I'm all for sales, okay? But there's a lot of sales people that go out and just get a signature, and you have to be very careful, because that signature can put you at risk of being in a long-term contract where they can raise rates with your permission, without your permission, excuse me. A lot of stuff going on there. And it's like any business, you're always going to find some bad eggs, but I think that that's really important. I think you just need to do business with people who care, and they're willing to go to bat for you and not nickel and dime you. It's amazing. We just do so much for people without charging them. I mean, it's crazy the time and effort we put into people, and I think that goes a long way. But with other organizations, you may be paying for all kinds of stuff that you don't really need to be paying for. So I think you just have to do your homework. You need to reach out to more than one processor, do some interviewing, try to get connected. And certainly I'm here. If you're watching this interview, certainly can help you local in the Denver market, and I work all over the place, and we can connect you. Even if you're not in Denver, we have no limitations on territories in different states. We have full service equipment, standalone point of sale systems, website integration, mobile payments. We can do it all. And I would just encourage you to reach back out to us and let us know. And Phil, I appreciate you handling this today. And there's just so much information. And I know that I've been talking through a whole bunch of things, but I think the most important thing is if you want more information, call me, email me, and let me know how I can help, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mark. And so everybody watching this, following this video, we're going to have Mark's contact information, email and phone number, and the best way to get in touch with him. I want to thank you, Mark, for the time and input that you provided as it pertains to payment processing. This is one of those things that is integral to just about any business that has customers coming in, or like we said, whether it's online or somebody's walking through your door, there's probably a processing component that's happening there. There has to be if they're making any money. Yeah. And so we would just encourage you to reach out to Mark, have a conversation. I mean, if nothing else, just educate yourself on the process. Whether you decide to go with Mark or not is strictly up to you and what your business choices are. But certainly, I think you'll find that Mark can give you that information in a transparent way. And I know when I've worked with him in the past, that's the way it's always been for us. So thanks again, Mark. I really appreciate it. Once again, this is Phil Gibson with the Unity Group. This is the Unity Thread, and we thank you for watching today. Hopefully this has been beneficial, and give us a call if we can help you in any of your real estate needs, buying and selling in the Denver metro area. Have a great day.